Hello everybody, it's Bob Ryder for NWATNA. You're listening to the interactive interview with James Walsh and Dan Edler.
The following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time
It's theater time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
for the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's gonna be cool.
You're where it's at.
You smell like me.
Tune in each and every week.
You better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The interactive interview,
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview. Interactive interview. The interactive interview.
interactive wrestling radio,
Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio. Interactive wrestling radio. Interactive wrestling radio.
The Blaze,
Blaze 1260 AM. The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze. The Blaze Rock.
and a lot of other names.
Weekend Weird of Wrestling. The Pile Driver. The Epa Wrestling Center.
3-count wrestling.
The Hours Slam.
But it's all one show, the Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter, dude. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
Dr. Carol House.
It all starts
What a rush. Oh, Boomer Sooner.
Thank you very much.
I got 2 words for you. Thumbs down. Breaking necks and cashing checks. Burn. I've heard a lot about you guys.
Check it out. Get out of my face. You win!
But I'm desperately out of time!
So what you gonna do when Blaze Mania runs wild on you?
now.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining me on the Newsmaker line right now is one of Ring of Honor's newest signings, signed just before the pandemic, as a matter of fact. He is the Metalhead Maniac, Sledge. Are you with me, sir?
I am. I'm right here with you all the way, brother.
All right. It's such a pleasure to have you on. I got to ask you, it's usually when I ask guys that have been signed to a contract for 6 months or so, they have, more stuff to show because of you're in a weird spot because of the pandemic. So, I guess my first question is, what did it feel like to sign that Ring of Honor contract?
It was great, man. I went to Ring of Honor. I went to the dojo on a non-guarantee, more of kind of like a handshake, I guess would be the best way to put it. Was I went and did a tryout, and they were like, well, we're inviting you to the dojo to learn our system, and we'll put you on like the ring trucks, and we'll get you, some money in your pocket, but just kind of, we'll see how it goes. And, sometimes when an opportunity knocks, you have to go through it. And finally, about 6 months into training, they signed me, and it was great, man. Like, you work so hard for something, and then you expect, once you sign that dotted line, like you expect like fireworks and explosions, and yes, I finally made it. But then you realize that, hey, man, your hard work just started, and now you have to make them realize. And now you have to give them a reason to keep you under contract and work harder. And now you got big dogs that you gotta come after, and it's it was like, okay, work's got to start, So
Absolutely. And
a long story short.
Absolutely. And we've been in the same building at the same time. I'm in Mesa, Arizona, and I've seen you walk right past me as we were at the Nile Theater in Mesa, Arizona for Championship Wrestling from Arizona. So it's got to be a long road going from there to Baltimore.
That was that was a while ago. I wasn't even scheduled to be on that show. I was in town for something, and I just kind of stopped by I think just to see Peter Avalon, honestly, just to kind of say what's up. And then they were like, hey, man, you got your gear? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, man, awesome. That's really cool. So.
Awesome. So I promise you we're not going to talk just about this pandemic situation because I think the whole world is tired of it. But was signing the contract right before the pandemic hit, was that a blessing in disguise in a way, that to get under a contract where so many wrestlers that are just independent right now are suffering because there's just nowhere to work?
Yes, 100% a blessing. Sinclair and Ring of Honor has taken care of us like, just has completely taken care of us, financially wise, and just made sure that we were all taken care of during this whole thing and made sure we were close to our families. When this thing hit, we were all in Vegas, and they switched people's flights around really quick so they're safe and they were with their homes. So I honestly, I say it all the time, I say it on my social media, that I can't work for a better company like Ring of Honor.
Awesome.
Like Sinclair, because they completely just take care of us 100%. And yes, it was a blessing, but it was a blessing all the way around. It's really bad to say, but this whole COVID thing has been a blessing for me through this whole thing. And I guess we'll get to that in a minute. So
sure. How so though? How do you? Well, let's tackle that now. How so? How has it been a blessing for you?
Let's tackle it now. Well, I'm a recovering addict, and when I went to the Ring of Honor dojo, I left everything behind on an opportunity. So I binged eat a lot. So like I got rid of the alcohol and the drugs, but then I depress eat. So I was very depressed over there. Now don't get me wrong, like I made good friends and I had great training, but I just wasn't me. So when this pandemic hit, they sent me home. They sent me back to California because I had two places. I had my California place and my Baltimore place. And that was when I was able to really hone in my diet and get everything that I needed to get emotionally, physically, where I feel like I needed to be ready to be on TV.
Right.
So it was a restart button for me.
Awesome.
And it's been great, being home. Now I don't have to live in Baltimore anymore. I'm allowed to, they're flying me now, which is great. And, they're like, we like what you're doing at home, so stay home. And I'm like, well, I feel better mentally at home instead of away from, my support system. So
awesome. And I've seen the pictures you've been posting on social media, and you're looking bigger and badder than ever.
I'm ready to rock and roll whenever that my dog's deciding to chirp in as well. Whenever the time comes, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. So your Metalhead Maniac persona, it really speaks to me because it seems like these two things. I'm a big metal fan. In fact, I used to, in addition to the wrestling Epicenter, I used to run the metal Epicenter. So it kind of all goes hand in hand, that these heavy metal guys like you and I seem to gravitate towards professional wrestling. What's the link? Where's the link?
Where's the what?
Where's the link between professional wrestling and heavy metal that it seems to attract both fan bases?
Well, just listen to a lot of the entrance music that a lot of the bigger names have. They're all metal, so you're naturally going to gravitate towards there. And I always I grew up on metal. My sister is who got me into the metal music. I actually listened to rap back in the day. My sister's the one who got me into metal music, and I also started playing drums in a band and touring that way. So metal just, I don't know, man, there's something about it that just drives people. That just, you get that heavy, drop D chugging and that double bass going, and there's just something that just fuels you and just pumps you. And that's all I listen to in the gym is that and like motivational stuff. So
awesome.
I think metal music and wrestling just go hand in hand. I mean, there's no way around it. You listen to it and it's just, now I'm getting pumped just to thinking about it right now.
Awesome.
My entrance music, man, is by a Las Vegas band.
That's what I was just about to ask you about. I heard you talk about this a little bit
yeah.
online about your entrance music and that you wanted to say and what it would be. And I had just interviewed Silas Young a few months ago, and he's like, well, I chose a song that they had, under contract, and I liked it. It was okay, so I used that. Yours seems to be more finely tuned to your interests.
Yeah, so I talked to the office, and I was like, man, like I really want to write my own entrance music and have my own, like just a feel of myself. And they loved it. They're like, well, that means we don't have to pick something generic for you. And I was like, sweet. So I got with my buddy Wes, who is the lead singer of a band called Death in Motion, DIM. And they got like this kill switch engage sound that's real metal and they wrote me a excellent, entrance theme that will be debuted very, very soon. And we'll be putting it on iTunes and Spotify, and they're putting on their upcoming album. And it was something that was written personally for me about demons and overcoming adversity. And it's a really, really cool tune. It's a really, really cool tune.
Oh, man, I can't wait to hear it now. That's awesome. Thank you for letting me know. What is some of your other favorite wrestling theme songs? Like, when you think about the best wrestling theme songs through the years, what one do you think, yeah, you know what, that guy, that's the perfect theme for that guy?
Oh, geez. Well, you got Triple H and Motorhead.
Oh, yeah.
That's just, the game, and well, what else? I really enjoyed the Kill Switch Engage entrance music for CM Punk when he first came into WWE.
Right.
I really enjoyed that. Baron Corbin, his entrance theme with, Bad Wolves is amazing. Rhea Ripley, new entrance theme is freaking amazing. And she works with Ashley Core, some from New Year's Day. I don't remember her last name, but from New Year's Day. I mean, Silas Young's entrance music. I really love Silas' entrance music too. I know he said it was like generic, but like it's awesome. So Matt Taven's, entrance theme. Vinny's is scary as shit. I think Brody King's entrance theme is actually his band, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But his entrance theme's really good.
Awesome.
Man, there's so many entrance themes that are just real bangers, and you just kind of put on. You're just like, you don't even have to like listen to them coming out. You can just put it on like Spotify, and you're just like, yeah, that's awesome. Like the WWF, what is it, the Aggression album?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Like
yeah.
that was awesome.
Awesome. All right. So we've had Greg the Hammer Valentine. In fact, there was a Metal Maniac back in the day. Goldberg uses the jackhammer. Where did Sledge come from? Where did you get the idea to use the name Sledge as your ring name?
They called me the Hammer when I played drums in a band.
Ah.
And because I would hit the skin so freaking hard, they called me the Hammer. And I just took Hammer and turned it into Sledge, and it went. And there it went. I couldn't be the Hammer, because obviously Hammer Valentine and
yep.
Hammerstone as well.
Hammerstone, good point.
So
yeah,
Hammerstone. So it's just been like Sledge sounds a little, and there was no one had it.
No,
which I was really shocked about. Like no one had it. You would think that Sledge is a pretty like wrestler name.
Yeah,
and no one had it.
That's
there's a few guys like that worked in the indies like in the 90s that had it, but wasn't anything like Sledge with Ring of Honor or anything like that. So like when you hear Sledge, you automatically think of me, not like when somebody from the yard. So
that's awesome. All right. So a few years ago, it's been a few years actually now,
mm-hmm.
you were a part of the Steve Austin podcast, and that really kind of opened up your availability to people. People really found out more about you from that podcast. How did that come to be, and what is your relationship with Stone Cold these days?
I just talked to Steve actually a couple months ago. Just shot him a text him back and forth. I don't know what came about the text. We were just I don't remember. We just started texting. I was in Arizona actually. I was driving with AJ Kirsch to a show, and AJ was scheduled for the Steve Austin podcast on that Sunday, which he totally kayfabed me on. Didn't even tell me about it. Was told me that you have to drop me off at a Starbucks or something while he did this, and I'm thinking he had this actor's audition or something like that because he's an actor. And Steve Austin calls him on our way to Arizona, and he goes, "What time you coming over, kid?" And AJ asked if I could tag along, and Steve said absolutely. Yeah, he originally told me to kiss his ass first. But then he was like, yeah, man, bring him on. And we met, and it's funny because I have 2 dogs now, but I have a deathly fear of dogs. I deathly fear of dogs. I know that sounds weird when I have 2 dogs, but I deathly fear dogs. And going into Steve Austin's house, he has 2 dogs, and they were jumping on me, and I'm trying not to freak out because Steve Austin's in front of me, but their dogs are jumping on me. I'm holding my composure. I'm holding it. And then he invites us into his house, and we're sitting there, and I'm talking with his wife, and his dog comes and lays his head on my lap, and he goes, man, I've never seen, I think it was Callie. Callie's never done that with anybody. I was like, I don't know, man. So I'm just sitting there petting the dog, and we go over and do the podcast. And during like a break of the podcast, we started talking about metal music, and then we started talking about he asked me, what's your story? And I told him that I'm a recovering addict, and I'm just recently trying to get out back in the wrestling scene. And he goes, can I podcast you? And I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And he did the podcast, and then next thing you know, my Twitter and my Instagram and my email started blowing up, and off to the races we went. So
absolutely. And another podcast you did was the Bouncers podcast, and that was kind of your hi, I'm here introduction to Ring of Honor fans, and it didn't seem to go that well. It seemed to end a little abruptly. I see that the reason why I wasn't going to ask you about being an addict and your past problems, because I got the feeling that when they started talking about beer, that was why you ended the conversation.
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. I mean, what they do in their extracurricular activities is up to them. The Bouncers they're the largest human beings in Ring of Honor. I would say, and man, they can drink some beer. I've seen it firsthand. But what really made us end that podcast was talking about nutrition. I'm huge into nutrition. Mm-hmm. And they asked me, what else do you drink? And honestly, I mean, in front of me right now, talking to you, I got a big gallon of water. I drink water and coffee.
There you go.
And and I mixed, when you're mixing your pre-workout or your amino acids, you're drinking water. And when I talked to them, tried to talk to them a little bit about nutrition, the conversation went south real quick, and kind of got a little heated with them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta go. I don't have time for this. I don't have time to educate you guys on nutrition. You guys should, we're athletes. We should know nutrition. So.
Exactly. So when we first talked about doing this interview, it was quite a few months ago, in fact, and Mark Criskel, our good friend over at Ring of Honor, kind of described you as our new big guy. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about that. You're their new big guy in a company and frankly, a business that has trended down. It's trended towards a smaller guy kind of company, kind of smaller guy industry, in fact. What's your thoughts on wrestling going more towards the smaller, more acrobatic guys versus the big guys like yourself?
It just takes one punch. They can be as acrobatic as they want. They can flippy, and it just takes one. Just takes one punch. One clothesline. Just me getting my hands on you. You're not flipping anymore. That's the bottom line on that.
Awesome.
And is it really Ring of Honor is known for being a little bit more for the smaller individuals, but have you seen our roster lately?
Yeah, it's kind of trending the other way again.
We got some big boys on there. I mean, Brody King, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. We got Shane Taylor, 6'2", 300 and something pounds. We got Vinny and Taven. Those aren't small guys either. Those guys are fairly larger human beings. Tyler Bateman, 6 foot. Tyler 6'4". I think 6'3", 6'4". Those guys, I just fit right in there with them. We used to have guys like Cobb, and we have been trending for possibly being for the smaller guys, yes, but we have a lot of big killers on the roster. I mean, our world heavyweight champion, Roosh.
Yep.
He's not a small individual.
He's a beefy dude. Yep.
6'2", 6'3", 225, 230 pounds.
There you go.
You know, I fit right in the mix with all those guys. And like I said, once we get our hands on you, it's over. But when I get in the ring with bigger guys like that, man, expect a slugfest. Expect us just to beat the living bejesus out of each other.
All right.
You know, and it's, it's sweat's gonna fly, blood's gonna fly. It's just what's gonna happen, and I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm chomping at the bit. I literally am chomping at the bit.
Awesome. Well, Ring of Honor got back to doing television with the Pure Tournament, and week by week, it's just getting better.
How good was that?
That was awesome.
How good was that Pure Tournament?
Spure.
Those guys were killers. Absolutely killers.
Sports-based wrestling. I love it.
Go figure.
Exactly right.
Something that was advertised.
Exactly right. So you guys are kind of getting back to action, and just a few days ago, maybe about a week ago, you announced that Final Battle pay-per-view is going to be happening. So it sounds like we are going to start seeing some regular Ring of Honor TV and pay-per-views getting back to normal here. How excited are you to get back in there, even if there is no crowd, to get back into action with Ring of Honor?
Like I said, I'm chomping at the bit, man. I'm super excited to show the world, what I can do. It's one of those things where it's just like, just give me the opportunity and let me take the ball and let me run with it. And I see that happening very, very soon. So it's one of those things where it's like, don't blink, because you never know where I'm going to pop up. You never know. Just don't blink. They debuted me a little bit here and a little bit there, and they put the feelers out, let the fans kind of get familiar with my face.
Mm-hmm.
But now it might be time to get people familiar with my work, and that will be coming very, very soon.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. Well, man, I wish you absolutely the best of luck. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I can't wait to see. Obviously, like you said, it's been years since I've seen you in person, but I can't wait to see you back live on pay-per-view, back on television, back where you belong in that squared circle, and maybe the world will start turning again real soon.
Well, just everybody just be safe. 100%, just be safe. Look out for each other. Stop all that negative stuff online, man, and just keep pushing. Just keep pushing, man. We're all in this together. There's no one special out of any of us. We're all in this whole COVID-19 thing together.
We sure.
Just everybody be safe. Everybody be safe. Bottom line, everybody be safe. And yeah, man, I look forward to it as well. It's kind of like a small town boy, kind of making it somewhat big. I think there's 4 of us on the east. Where are we at? West Coast? Yeah, West Coast. I think there's 4 of us on the West Coast. Yeah, I was like, where are we?
Yeah.
Where am I? I think there's only 4 of us here that are contracted with Ring of Honor. So it's it's really, really cool to watch California boys doing cool stuff. A lot of those guys have been under contract for a while now, but I'm pushing in. I'm gonna kick that door in sooner or later. Just watch it.
All right. Well, before I let you go, do you mind if I ask for one last favor? You probably already know what I'm going to ask you for. Do you mind if I ask for a station ID?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So the name of the website is Wrestling Epicenter, and you can put whatever spin you like on it.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Yes, sir.
All right. What's up, guys? It's the Metalhead Maniac, Sledge from Ring of Honor, and you're listening to Wrestling Epicenter.
It's Vader time.
It was Vader time in 2009 when the Wrestling Epicenter welcomed Big Van Vader to our show.
Yeah, he did. He picked the ear up off the ring and carried it to the back where I believe Chuck was fully with it. But they never reattached it. That he has that long hair, so you don't really see it. But they never reattached the ear, so it looks pretty ugly.
This sensational interview is available in our extensive archives at interactivewrestlingradio.com and wrestlingepicenter.com. All right, everybody, welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. For the first time in a little while, we're going to do a little bit of a talking segment, maybe talking a little bit about some of the goings-on in professional wrestling. And joining me, once again, is my partner in crime, the one guy who could tolerate talking to me for, 15-plus years now, Mr. Patrick Kelly. Are you there?
I am here, sir. Can everybody hear me? We're finding a new way to record, so this should be interesting to see how this all plays
It's
out.
going to sound a little different, a little more professional, maybe. So yeah, been a while since we did one of these. Basically, I'll shoot from the hip. I feel that to some extent I'm not allowed an opinion as much as I used to, due to circumstances that, regarding dealing with all these companies. We have a good working relationship with Impact Wrestling, with even with AEW to some extent, with Ring of Honor, to MLW, to all these companies that we have a good relationship with. I don't want to say anything negative, and I don't always have just positive things to say. So because of that, I deliberately have just not said anything. And I find that that's been working well, so naturally I want to screw that up and start giving an opinion again.
Well, we've also been kept indoors for almost all year long, and I think we're all reaching a breaking point where we're all just going crazy, and we just we need an outlet.
We do, and this has been the worst year ever. I mean, I remember when I first heard that shit was closing down. It was a rainy day, and I was at the Phoenix Zoo, and people started saying, "Oh, they're gonna start shutting things down. They're gonna start shutting things down." And I'd like, that's just such an unheard of concept before this year, that shit just won't be open, and you just can't do shit. I mean, come on now, that's just unbelievable. And to think, I've spoken to people at work who are in New York City, and I'll say, "Well, do you miss going to the museum?" "Oh, we'll never be able to go to the museum again." And I'm okay with that as long as I don't get the virus. You're okay with never, ever having freedom again to do something because of this? Man, I don't know. I can't get along with that.
No, I'm at a point, too, where I'm like, it's been, 7-8 months? I'm kind of done. And when I live in Maryland and things started opening back up a few months ago during the summer, and I got to tell you, when the gyms opened back up and I could go back to the gym again, I'm not kidding, I literally started crying, because the first few months of the lockdown, my entire life, it was just 3 straight months. The only times I ever went outside was to go to the grocery store, and that was once every 2 weeks. And that was at like 6 in the morning, because I was trying to beat all the crowds, because everybody was still panic shopping at that point. So it was not a very healthy or exciting existence. So getting to do anything that made me feel normal again, it was like a huge breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when this first happened, running to the supermarket like thieves in the night, running through the shelves, running through the store to get the stuff that we needed, not allowing the kids to go into the stores with us. They stayed at home and just grabbing the stuff. They can, if we're going to get it, we'll get it, but not the kids. And then as time went by, we're like, you know what? You come with us and just wear your mask and all this other stuff. And that's not a political statement, by the way. I'm not saying that you should or should not wear masks. I'm just saying that I'd rather my kids not get it. I will tell you flat out that there's been times that I've not worn a mask in Walmart as a sign of civil protest, because enough is enough. But I try to do what's right by the stores that ask, and whatever makes people comfortable.
Yeah, well, where I am, I don't know. I can't think of a business or place that doesn't require you to have a mask when you go inside. Like, it's pretty much mandatory around here.
It's not, well, it's mandated but not required around here. So if I didn't wear a mask, I would be probably bothered by one of the staff members. "Sir, put your mask on. Sir, put your mask on." But they wouldn't throw you out. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at. And I've, like I said, if it makes people happier to think that a thin piece of cotton is going to save their lives, then I'll put it on for them to make them happy. But I have my doubts. That's I'm getting more political than I wanted to.
Well, I know certain masks work better than others. There are a lot of the cloth masks are virtually useless.
Yeah, it's for show.
You get like,
I think.
But if you use the ones that are actually used by medical professionals, those actually do something. Right. But the funniest part is that the masks largely, they prevent you from passing the infection. They don't prevent you from getting it most of the time. That's largely, it's a protection for other people, not for yourself, which is why I laugh when people think they're wearing the mask and they're invincible. It's like, oh, no, you might already have it. But you're preventing yourself from passing it on to other people. That's
absolutely,
the point.
Absolutely. And wrestling has changed. I mean, gosh, has wrestling changed?
Oh, and credit to everybody involved, from WWE to AEW to Impact to ROH, which recently started back up. MLW recently started back up. Wrestling without a crowd is not ideal, and I think we can all agree that it doesn't really work. Without a crowd, I think people within the business would agree with that. It's like wrestling just works better with a crowd. But I will give all these companies credit for at least trying to give us something and give their workers something and make something happen in the middle of all this just to make it palatable.
I got to tell you, in all honesty, and I'm going to exclude Ring of Honor from this because for the longest time they didn't run and they just are starting to run now and they're past the Pure tournament, which I really enjoyed. But they're trying now to do programming without the crowd. They just had Mike Bennett come back and save Matt Taven in the Kingdom, which is kind of cool. I'd really like to see where that leads. Got to believe it would have been better with a crowd. But I'm going to give all three companies that have continued on, what is it, boats against the current, as F. Scott
going against the grain.
F. Scott Fitzgerald aside, that tried to go on and do it. All three companies have done it in their own way. Impact and AEW, I think, have surprised a lot of people with their resources and how they've managed to present wrestling without it being that much of a drop-off in quality, whereas I think we all could agree that WWE has suffered the most, quality-wise, from not having the crowd.
Yeah, and the Thunderdome is an interesting visual, like an interesting concept. And again, I'll take the Thunderdome over nothing. And it's better than nothing, but it's still you can't replace a crowd. And unfortunately, WWE, the way that they present themselves, it's like, oh, we're entertainment, pal, and everybody's got to always be playing to the crowd. It was really distracting. I remember watching WrestleMania way back when. It's like, God, these people, they're in WWE, they are trained in a way to just always play to the crowd, and now these people are playing to a crowd that's not there, and it's really awkward.
It feels like there's a guy that sells wrestling stuff at the local store. It's like an antiques mall. And I said to him, well, what do you think of watching it now? And he says, it's like watching training matches. He said, it's really like watching training matches. And, I got that feeling the other day while watching Sunday Night Football, because NBC, to their credit, seems to be the only ones who don't pipe in that ridiculous anarchy-sounding crowd noise. There's none of that. It's just Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels calling it. And
if there are fans there, you can hear legitimate. And again, every stadium appears to be different. But if there are fans there, you get to hear it.
But there was a big play. It was like a big completion pass, and it felt like that end of the game when all hope was lost, even though it was a big play that could have swayed the game, just because there's no crowd to react. And I thought, this is just so freaking bizarre. But I'd rather have no crowd reaction and the announcers being excited than that weird audio track that cuts out every 5 seconds on Fox, especially during the Joe Buck call games. I don't know what the hell that's about, but that's really weird.
No, piped-in crowd noise, it doesn't work. I'll tell you, it really hurt The Undertaker's farewell at Survivor Series. Like, man, it'd be nice if this was in front of a crowd. Instead, we've got piped-in crowd noise, and it's very awkward and really kind of took away from what should have been a big moment.
It should have been a big moment. And I mean, do you think he's done, The Undertaker? Is this the end of the Phenom?
Two things. One, when they get crowds back, I think they may call him back for WrestleMania for one more match. And two, Saudi Arabia has this magic ability called lots and lots of money to get people to come out of retirement and work a match. Hi, Shawn Michaels. So, next Saudi show, next WrestleMania.
They tried to bring in Kurt Hennig. I'm not joking. The Saudi prince, a huge wrestling fan, asked them to bring back Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig for a show. He's been dead for 17 and a half years, but this huge fan, bring him back for a match.
Oh, here's the thing. I'm sure he is a fan. He's just a fan of stuff that he saw when he was a kid in like 1993. That's the stuff he remembers.
I'm sure that's true, but you would think he would keep up with it. It's like, hey, you know what? I really want to see Jimi Hendrix play live. I heard his albums; they're really good. Well, there's a problem. He's been dead for 50 years, so you can't do that.
Oh my God. But yeah. But yeah, in the COVID era, it's I think across the board, all the companies deserve like an A for effort in just trying, and probably the ones that have done the best are New Japan, because they're allowed to have people in the
that has been a benefit. And I'll tell you, seeing some shows where there is a crowd reaction, it is a great different feel. It's just a totally different vibe having a crowd. In AEW, by the way, they have had a crowd, not a huge one, and sometimes it's mic'd better than other times, but that I think has been a better presentation than WWE's even Thunderdome, because at least it's real crowd reaction. It's real.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real people reacting to stuff. And AEW, too, also to their credit, they were the first ones to do, like, hey, let's have the enhancement guys just kind of sit around the ring and they could be the crowd. And they tried that for a while. It's like, that was, again, it was better than nothing.
Let's try something. Yeah, something that works and see. Let's throw shit at the fan and see what sticks.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I mean, it's a shame that this happened at the time that it did, because AEW was really starting to get hot. Like, really, really starting to get hot. Like, they just had that cage match.
Okay.
That cage match between Cody and Wardlow. They had done the incident with the strap with MJF and Cody. And they put on that pay-per-view where Moxley won the title. So it looked like things were going pretty well for them. And then COVID happened and ruined everything.
I want to talk about that real quick. Cody did a press conference. It was leading into that cage match, right? Which happened in the same building. Well, it's a new building, but the same location that used to be the Omni, where his dad had cage matches. The famous cage matches, in fact. And Cody did a conference call, which we were on, never were called upon, and every single question, COVID, the pandemic, coronavirus, COVID. And the conversation ended a half hour earlier than all the other conference calls he's done, because I guarantee you he gave them the high sign saying, Jesus Christ, enough of this. And my thought is, you have the son of Dusty Rhodes, who's having a cage match on Wednesday night in the Omni, essentially. And you have nobody that's a historian enough to connect those dots and ask a question.
Yes.
Infuriating. As an interviewer, as a journalist, infuriating. And I said so on Twitter, and I blistered a few of my counterparts, my people that did ask questions, and I stand by it. I think that that's the difference between those who know and those who don't. I've been doing a lot of uploading of old shows, right? And some of those are the old Impact Wrestling teleconferences with, say,
I remember
you were on those.
I was in college when we did this.
I just did the Christopher Daniels one and put it up online, and you were on that one. You asked 3 or 4 questions, all valid, logical, good questions. There's none of that on these AEW calls. What the hell's happened to wrestling journalism?
I used to be, and look, I'm not saying that I'm the best interviewer on the planet. I would even argue that I'm not that good, to be perfectly honest. I could never fully get over my anxiety and nerves of oh my God, I'm talking to a wrestling superstar on the other line. That's pretty cool. And that was a hurdle I never quite got over. But when I was on those teleconferences, I was I would pay attention to the other questions that were being asked, because I didn't want to repeat myself. I didn't want to repeat what they had said. I don't want to ask the same question, or if they went down a rabbit hole and just kept asking the same question over and over again, or the same line of questioning, I would know, okay, let's avoid that because he's already been asked 5 or 6 times about that. I don't see any point in bringing it up again. And so these are, to me, that's like common knowledge. Like, it's like you don't just beat a dead horse for the sake of beating a dead horse.
Yep, that's where we're at, though. And, sometimes I know some people get angry with me with the interviews that we do because I don't always go for the epics that I used to get to go for in the past. And that's because of 2 different things. First, times have changed a little bit. Social media, whether I like it or not, a lot of the questions that I would have asked that never would have been talked about before do get asked and talked about on social media. So it's a little bit less of a novelty to get the person on to talk about stuff. The other part of that, though, is a lot of the ones I do now are company-granted interviews, so the interview has to focus on the company. So I can't get, say, the Good Brothers on, which I had on a couple weeks ago, and talk about the Boneyard match from WrestleMania, because that was for a different company. So I got to talk about what they're doing now at Impact and focus primarily on that. So anybody who gets mad and comments on YouTube that I'm not asking the kind of questions I used to, ask yourself why you think that might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting to see, and this is a discussion for a whole nother time, to see how much the internet as a whole with social media and the way YouTube is run, how it's all changed in the last, like YouTube started up, I think, in 2005, 2006, and how much it's changed since then, where before it was like the Wild Wild West. You could say whatever you wanted on YouTube, and they were not going to censor you. But, since being bought up by Google and getting all these big companies that invest into it and start their own channels and everything and ad revenue and, they're putting money into it, people have had to watch their language a lot more on YouTube, I've noticed. Just as an example, like the Angry Video Game Nerd, who I remember watching back when I was in college, he's still making videos, but his whole thing is that he would say F this, F that, F, and he would just constantly swear, like in a never-ending cycle. And now it's like he'll curse maybe 2 or 3 times a video because he knew that he had to restrain himself.
You're a content creator on here too, so you know about that. And there's different rules now. You have to certify if your video is suitable for children. And I say no when I upload mine because I do occasionally drop the F-bomb. I try not to, but I don't do it like I'm on AM radio again, where I knew that if I do, I'm going to get fired or not allowed to be on the air anymore, which you did, by the way. You swear on it.
I said the S word. I didn't say the F word. But that was funny. I do remember that. I was like, oh God, did I cause a stir at the?
Nobody there was listening to survey us. The only people that got uptight about it were those that were trying to be good soldiers, not people that actually had any kind of authority. So I wouldn't worry about that. That was no big deal. But what I mean by that, though, is sometimes if I'm angry about something, I'm going to say, well, F this, F that, and this, that, and the other. And if
you get angry about stuff? Say it ain't so.
Yeah, there's a reason my Facebook account is private, because I fear what people would think if they knew what I really thought about stuff. You can't read what I say online.
I read it. It's something else.
It's fun. Sometimes I do it just to piss people off. It really there is a level of persona involved in it. I will admit, even within my inner circle, there's a level of, okay, this one's gonna get this guy pissed off. I'm gonna say this just to get a rise out of him. All right.
Hey, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. But actually, going back to the YouTube thing, I mean, I got the email, I'm sure you did, about the changes to monetization and what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I heard. I did get that email, was it just last week?
Yep. So YouTube, the big sticking point for me is that they reserve the right to monetize any video, even if it's been demonetized or even if you're not part of the Partners Program where you get your videos monetized. So basically, if they demonetize your videos, they can still put ads on it and make money off it themselves, but you can't. And I'm like, that's scummy, but okay.
Yep. That's the world we live in. And this is going to be on YouTube, by the way. What we're saying here will be on there.
I already, actually, on my last video, I reamed into YouTube pretty hard, so I'm kind of making that my thing
so
now.
my kids watch watch all these guys. Your Laser Beam and your, oh God, what's his name? Another Australian guy who plays Fortnite constantly. Anyway, it'll come to me later on. Anyway, they watch all these guys, but one of the guys they watch that I actually enjoy watching is a guy named Markiplier. Have you ever seen Markiplier?
Uh-huh. I know of him. I've never watched.
So he used to do these videos called Try Not to Laugh Challenges. And in the Try Not to Laugh Challenges, it kind of does what it says on the box. He shows you funny clips, him reacting to said funny clips where he tries not to laugh at those. One of the clips that he showed in the second one, which was uploaded something like 3 years ago, was the somewhat famous clip where the cartoon characters kind of spill out almost like a clown car of this vehicle and beat up this guy on the street. And it was staged. It was not a real mugging. You got SpongeBob SquarePants and Mr. Krabs and all these other kind of cartoon characters getting out of this vehicle in full costume, beating up this guy. It got taken down by YouTube, claiming that it violated their terms of service due to violence.
Jeez.
That video actually exists online by the original creator and has not been pulled by them. That very same clip by the actual creator, but it was too much for the Try Not to Laugh challenge. That same video also aired on a TV show on True TV called World's Dumbest. And if it was okay for FCC to air it, why is it too much for YouTube to air it?
It's funny you mentioned that show because I love that show. I try to watch it whenever I can. But no, it's like the way, and this has been going on for years. This is not a new thing. The way that YouTube applies their rules to different channels and different videos, because I think a lot of it is automated. I think a lot of it is if you trigger the algorithm or you trigger like the mechanics or the tools that they have in place to look for those things. If you trigger it, then they'll take it down. If it by some miracle slips through the cracks, then it just gets left alone. Because I don't think anybody on the YouTube side of things is actually looking through videos, looking for this stuff. I think a lot of it is automated.
I think it is, because every now and again I'll get yanked from like an old video. Like I said, I upload some of our old shows, and some of the old shows I was a little loosey-goosey because it was on our own server about using copyrighted music. So I would use... for the Jeff Jarrett PSA, where he says, hey, this is Jeff Jarrett, the King of the Mountain, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, or whatever the case might be, I had in the background Tesla playing the song Modern Day Cowboy or something like that. Moderately fitting the person that it was for, if I didn't just use their theme song flat out. And to this day, I'll get messages, oh, well, on this interview, episode 52, this is, by the way, episode 735, so it shows you how old that is. You used 30 seconds of a clip. Did you want to remove it or just have it muted for that time frame? And I'm thinking, wow, is Tesla in need of my 32 cents or whatever from playing it for a minute or 30 seconds or 12 seconds or whatever it is? It seems silly, but I guarantee you nobody listened to it and said, oh, he used Tesla or he used AC/DC or whatever. They just, whatever algorithms went out, or spiders, if you will, found it and said, oh, you can't do that.
I got in trouble. Okay, I did a live stream where all I was doing, and my audience and the people that participate in my live streams, they know exactly what I'm doing. It was a watch-along where I would watch something on the WWE Network, and I would basically comment on it while I was watching it and talk to the people in the chat and things like that. And this particular stream, I was watching a lot of the old Coliseum videos that WWE has up on the network. I was, talking about my memories of watching those tapes and everything else. And towards the end of the stream, it got cut. And I got a message from YouTube telling me the stream has been cut because of false advertising. And I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean false advertising? And I talked to, I put out a message. I was like, okay, everybody who was listening to this stream, did I false advertise what this stream was about? It was a watch-along for old Coliseum videos in the WWE Network. How did I false advertise? So YouTube, if you you're never going to listen to this, but if you do, please explain to me what exactly happened, because I'd love to hear your explanation.
And the only time we ever got in trouble, real trouble with YouTube, was the Chris Jericho interview like 10 years ago or 9 years ago, whatever it was.
Is that the one where he said I sounded like a midget?
He was on fire. He called me a nerd, too. Yeah, he was a lot of fun that day. But he was playing. He was having fun.
He's a fun guy. I mean, that was like, I felt like it kind of took the nerves away from him. It's like, oh my God, he just said I sounded like a midget. That's amazing.
He was
kind of loosened me up.
Yeah, he was a fun guy. He wasn't mean. To this day, I still laugh at people.
No.
I say, when Jericho comes on the TV, he called me a nerd once. I find that funny, but okay.
Yeah.
I used a snippet, very short, of Walls of Jericho. No. Yeah, that audio got pulled from the entire show. So I had to re-upload the whole thing. And that was, that's old YouTube rules. That's, 9-10 years ago. So that's where we're at. That's where we were at.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I just wanted to do something for Thanksgiving, kind of talk, maybe get my feet wet towards offering some kind of an opinion, see how many people I piss off by, saying that maybe I don't need to wear a mask or maybe you don't need to wear a mask, but I'll wear it if it makes people happy. I'm just, saying, think about it. Anyway, that kind of thing.
I think you should be more concerned about telling YouTube to go jump off a cliff. I think that should be.
Yeah, I want to see if, what people think of finding out that this guy who kind of shills a little bit, and I have to. It's the rule of every interviewer. You're not going to do an interview with somebody who says, that company you work for sucks. Which, by the way, I don't think that about any company that I work with or work, to promote. But what I'm trying to say is I'm not a shill guy, but I also realize that not having an opinion or not offering one in a public manner has resulted in beneficial things. However, I admit that it's kind of gotten boring. I kind of like having an opinion. I kind of like ruffling feathers. I kind of like talking and not just being, tell me about this match that's coming up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense, and I'm happy to help you do that because you know me. We've known each other for a decade and a half now. You can you can get angry around me, and it's fine. I'm used to it.
But there's nothing that I'm mad about. Like even when I said, okay, WWE's not doing it so good right now, I agree that they're not, and I don't understand things like why did Drew McIntyre lose the title if he was just going to get it back again? What was the point? But, it is what it is. This is the situation we're all in. The world is. People need to remember it's the whole world that's basically come to a halt. And gosh, I hate it. I like going to concerts. I like going to baseball games. I like doing all these things, and we can't do it right now. We're not allowed to. That's just the way it is.
Nope. No, and the things I'm worried about are more in the future, like what this is, how this is going to impact mainly kids and people moving forward. Because, we're all worried about health and getting this virus and everything, but, mental and emotional health and when you're a child and, stunting,
social awareness and
social development, intellectual development, those type of things. It's going to be a problem in the future, I think.
Well, whatever cell phones didn't do to damaging people's interactions in public, this is going to do more as well. Already I've noticed that people don't make eye contact. People don't talk to you face to face as much. A lot of looking down, a lot of covering of the face and stuff like that before the pandemic because of cell phones. And now, due to this pandemic, it's going to be even set back even further. And it's going to be very interesting because I'm a big kind of exchanging of jokes and stuff kind of guy. And if people don't know how to take it, I'm going to be even more of a dinosaur sooner than I wanted to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. But hopefully, they say the vaccine's coming out, so hopefully what that means is that we can start getting back to normal. But I feel like I've said that same statement like 6 times over the last 4 or 5 months, where it's like, all right, we're taking baby steps to being normal, and then something happens that kind of yanks it away from us. So, I'm sure we'll get the vaccine, but then there'll be some kind of, but associated
hurry up
with
and
it.
Wait kind of thing. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving, whatever your Thanksgiving looks like this year. I want to thank Ring of Honor for giving us Sledge for this interview, and hope you guys enjoy us bantering and talking. And if you like what we did here, there's a whole archives at WrestlingEpicenter.com of us doing it. Basically, everything Kelly Klein and before involved Patrick and I, or me and somebody else, talking and doing much like we did here today. So if you like our conversation, go back and check those out, and of course check out our classic interviews as well. All right, Patrick. Well, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
I will. You doing anything, or are you just staying at home?
Staying at home. I'll probably see my parents at some point. I don't know. That's not really been discussed, but it's, we always kind of have a homebody kind of Thanksgiving, and it's going to be the family. The direct family, the immediate family.
Yeah, I'm visiting the folks. We agreed. It was me, my sister, her husband, and my parents. We were like, you know what? Fuck this. We're going to have a normal Thanksgiving. Fuck this. We're done. We're all done with this. So that's our attitude right now.
That's my attitude all the time. All right, dude. Good talking to you, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Have a good one, man.
The preceding announcement was paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
I'm to listen, and if you like what you heard, I'm glad. If you didn't like what you heard, well, go fuck yourself.
Most people done hung up on me.
We had a lovely conversation.
What a show.
Oh, mercy, Daddy.
On your radio dial. Don't hang up. Bye-bye.